kind of advancement in robotics plus augmented reality and rest of AI, right? Doctors can do very, very precise surgeries remotely.
Like a
So,
sci-fi movie.
like literally like a sci-fi movie.
How can AI help in healthcare, making it more affordable? Because today we see a healthcare and the overall general public sometimes who are below a certain line will not be having access to very good care. Either it is because of the infrastructure or they don't have enough information or the right reach to diagnose their issues, and it, to be very honest, healthcare is not accessible and affordable to everyone, right? So how can AI help here?
So that's a very, very good question, because just the other day I was reading an article where there was a small boy who was experiencing certain symptoms. He was a 3-4-year-old boy, and he had been to 17 doctors over the last 3 years, and every doctor was basically suggesting something else. I think hundreds of MRIs, right? And they could not diagnose what the issue really was, right? So he had things like pain, he was grinding his teeth at night, and sometimes his leg was dragging, right? So these doctors could not find out, what the real problem was. So I think one of the days the mother or the father just put in all of these symptoms into ChatGPT, and it gave out a list of possible, diseases that their child could have. And there were a couple that the doctors had missed, and they went to doctors back with this list, and the doctors were like, oh wait, this makes a lot of sense, maybe we should try for this. And they tried for it, and they actually found out that that's what the kid had. So I don't know, this is already a good example of how it can actually help with reach. And I'm not saying that, they still had to go to the doctor, but that's today, right? Maybe in the future you could go to your doctor or your local clinic with the problem, and they could prescribe something for it, because diagnosis is half the problem and prescription is the other half, right?
Got it. So that's a good example, but I hope people do not treat themselves right now looking at ChatGPT, because then they would be very much stressed looking at that. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not a disclaimer. I'm not suggesting that everyone treats themselves on ChatGPT today, but I'm just saying that this is just a one-off incident where they had dead ends everywhere, and ChatGPT opened up another route.
ChatGPT by itself, the disclaimer down says that it can make errors, and it is in it's not perfect yet. So there would be. So what are some challenges like this? People are talking about bias of what this kind of data is there.
See, this is a challenge. It can make errors, but then again, we are still today talking about assisting, right? So this same ChatGPT prompt, right? If 3 years ago ChatGPT is available and the doctor that they first went to actually put that prompt in, right? Then they wouldn't have to go to 16 other doctors over the next 2 years, and they would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, lot of
cost and stress.
Yeah, right. A lot of time, anxiety, stress, all of that, right? And that itself is a big deal, right?
Right.
There's a lot of baggage that comes with every disease, and this will eliminate a lot of that. Yeah, so today will not be. I'm pretty sure, at least for a generation, we won't be ready with AI doing everything in healthcare, right? But yeah, over some time, I'm pretty sure when 2 generations down the line, when there are generations who are born into only AI assisted healthcare, then they would be a lot more comfortable, I guess.
How is AI, and when we're talking about ChatGPT or LLM, we say that it's something which is trained over something, and it is only having limited knowledge of what it was trained on or fine-tuned on. How about a possibility where we have a lot of variables today, and if we get enough data about, let's say I've done a recent scan and that is available in my the electronic health records, EHRs, or there's a recent study done. So how do we get recent data, or maybe some live data like a wristband which reads my current stress or my workout today and predicts something that can happen in the next 2 hours or next 4 hours.
So I think this is where a lot of the IoT devices and wearables that we use will come into play. So I remember 10-15 years ago, a lot of the blood pressure machines, they had just started coming in, the electronic ones with battery and all of that, right? The digital ones, right? But today they are Bluetooth enabled, all connected with an app. So healthcare devices have an ecosystem now where you can connect all your, measuring device, your instruments to one app. So, there's a smart weighing scale that, sort of, has my weight, right? There's a smart blood pressure machine, there's a smart glucose meter, then you have your Apple Watch or your Galaxy Watch that is detecting your sleep. All of these wearables like smart rings and these patches for glucose monitors, right? All of those collecting data all over the place, right? And more, there are new innovative ways to track things, via technology. So all of these,
how do they get feed into the LLM or
so to be fed into the LLM, first, of course, all of these healthcare companies, they should in fact create integrations with all of these devices, major device producers, right? And I'm sure that's something that all of these OEMs, right? And through that, of course, they can use the data that they have, plus electronic health records and the data from wearables. I think that's a big game changer, or it can make a lot of the diagnosing easier, right? Because there's always a bias when you even you're supposed to always be truthful to the doctor, but you never know, people are different. They'll ask you, did you sleep well? Maybe you slept well yesterday, but maybe before that you were sleeping maybe 2-3 hours a day, 4 hours a day only, right? So all of this data, I wouldn't say can be verified is the wrong word. It's like, we are policing people, but it can assist the doctor in making better decisions, right?
Getting the root cause analysis right.
Yeah. Of course, more data is always better, right? And
so sometimes this is good for personalization, right? Let's say you mentioned about
exactly
or something, and I can get personalized recommendation of dosage of insulin rather than just taking a general one every day.
Correct. It may be because, suppose this is also another use case. Good that you mentioned about insulin, because insulin, people who take insulin, of course, they're taking it based on a diagnosis that has happened by a doctor at a certain point in time. But insulin resistance is a highly lifestyle based situation, right? So tomorrow, if you start eating the right food at the right time, with the right amount of ingredients, break and all of that, your external insulin needs can change, right?
Yes.
And that is why
insulin, you may become insulin resistant over a period of time.
Yeah, that as well. So the whole cycle of you going every 6 months to have a checkup with the doctor, making sure there's an appointment, waiting for the appointment, traveling there. I think it's okay at a certain age, but of course insulin resistance, it happens at a younger age also, but most of it happens after a certain age, right? And I don't think all of these extra things that we have to do just to find out whether we have to reduce or increase the insulin.
Devices can come in which can probably become like, okay, there's a device which continuously monitors your glucose, integrated with an LLM, and it reads your historical data and recommends a fine-tuned model recommends saying that, hey, this is the insulin that you need to take today, or you don't have to take insulin today.
If it somehow connects with your Zomato and Swiggy order, then even better, right?
One challenge which comes in is when it comes to privacy and when we speak about personalization is privacy. Because if everyone is tracking our data, how do we make sure that our privacy is at stake, right? So how do we ensure all that AI is today generating is because of our data, and these companies are doing that. So how do we ensure that privacy is not at stake?
Yeah, so I think again, privacy is a huge topic to discuss about here. because your prescription, your healthcare metrics and all of that is very, very private and personal. There are of course situations of spouses not telling each other about their situation as well, right? So that shows how private it is, right? So I think this is where governments and bigger organizations will be taking responsibility and should take responsibility, where of course it's encrypted in the right way. It's people who are involved in training are not able to identify people who, basically PI information, right? Privacy is something, the systems have been designed with privacy in mind first, and then performance, because performance can always be improved later, right? But privacy cannot be fixed later. So
Right.
yeah.
So what are few things that we can expect in the next few months or few years from now in the healthcare and the AI sector, AI coming together?
I think the coolest thing that we can expect is robotic surgery, right? So I was talking to a group of people who are actually doctors, and they were exploring the topic. And so with the kind of advancement in robotics plus augmented reality and rest of AI, right? Doctors can do very, very precise surgeries remotely.
Like a sci-fi movie.
Like literally like a sci-fi movie, right? You can actually the robotic actuators and motors that are involved are much more stable than human hands, right? And they already have stabilizers. So it's like before, when you had those old film cameras, that if you shake it a bit, the photo is completely blurred. But in today's cameras, you have digital stabilization, optical stabilization, all of that. So imagine that in a surgery, all of that stabilization, right? So you can make more precise cuts or joints and all of that. And best part is, with the kind of networking capabilities that we have through satellites and 5G and fiber tech, it can happen remotely from anywhere. So doctor could be in Japan operating in the US, or vice versa, India, Africa, South America, Australia, anything.